What up, people? Welcome to the Push Ball Black Show. I'm your host, Christian, and this is the Bearscast for Week 8. Bears lose 16-17 against the Los Angeles Chargers. And before I get into that, this is later because I didn't see the game live when it happened. I went to church, had to run an errand. So when I got home, it was 30 seconds left in the third quarter. So I was able to see the fourth quarter and all the things that were going on in the fourth quarter. So I saw the end of the game, and I saw the last couple drives and stuff, and I was like, okay, let me watch this again. And as I'm watching the fourth quarter, and as I'm seeing the fourth quarter and the field goal, the missed field goal, I was like, why is he not running it? When I saw the last play to set up the field goal, I was like, why is Matt Nagy not running it in? Because it's 41 yards. Why are you not getting it closer? And I'm like, that's weird, but okay. Missed the field goal. So then I'm like, okay. So then I'm mad because he missed the field goal. I had seen Mitch in the quarter fumble and all types of craziness, right? So I recorded the game before I left. I set the recorder before I left this morning, and I'm like, I'm going to watch the game fully before I do this recording, because it would just be disingenuous for me to get all ranty and everything for watching one quarter. Plus, I'm looking on Twitter, and I'm like, the red zone, people were saying how the red zone calling from Matt Nagy was bad, and I'm like, all right, so let me see what's going on. So before I get into like the breakdown of the game, though, after seeing the end of the game live, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to catch the press conference. Couldn't catch the press conference. So as I'm watching the replay, I'm checking Twitter, and apparently Matt Nagy was going a little off in the press conference as far as why he didn't kick the field goal. He didn't run the ball or create a play before he kicked the field goal to get Eddie Pinheiro a closer field goal. Because the field goal that he kicked was 41 yards. It was wide left. And people were like, why didn't you get it closer? So after I watched the replay that I recorded, I listened to basically his clip. And basically he said that that if he ran the ball and there's a fumble, if he ran the ball and they know you're throwing the ball, if he runs the ball and they know you're running the ball, you miss 3 to 4 yards. If you run the ball and there's a fumble and you lose the game. Okay. This is where I want to start this podcast, or my thoughts. Matt Nagy doesn't want to run the ball. He has, in his head, he has this idea of, I'm going to pass the ball a lot, and I have this grand scheme of how I want this offense to run. Now, he ran the ball a lot today because my honest opinion is people clowned on him so much for last weekend that he made a conscious effort to run the ball today. And if you look at the breakdown of the rushing yards, they had 162 yards rushing. David Montgomery had, let's see here, 135 yards, 27 carries. And Tariq Cohen had 9 yards. Mr. Trubisky had 10 yards. Okay. Before I break down the game, or before I give you the stats of the game, that whole part of the press conference where he said, and he literally, because what happened was the reporter asked again, could you explain again why you didn't run the ball to get it closer? Because, and it actually makes his decision more egregious because Eddie missed the first field goal in the first quarter, and it was bad, and it was a long field goal. So he got really upset. He's like, "What did I say?" And he was kind of snippy with the reporter, and he was like, "We're wasting time here." Matt Nagy doesn't want to run the ball. He only ran the ball because people made fun of him last weekend for not running the ball. So he made a conscious effort to run the ball, like I mentioned earlier. I have never seen a coach with 40 seconds and a timeout not get your. That's in all my years of watching football, I've never seen a coach do what Matt Nagy did, ever. Specifically, matter of fact, most coaches I've seen, they try one shot in the end zone just to see what happens. Just to see. And it's like, let's do a shot in the end zone. If it's incompletion, it's incompletion. Let's do a run play to center, at the very least to center the holder to position and center the holder so it's an easier kick. Like, I've never seen a coach worry about fumbling the ball. Now, I know David Montgomery has fumbled the ball this season, but you have David Montgomery, you have Mike Davis, you have Tariq Cohen, you have Cordell Patterson, which you love to run in the backfield, even though it doesn't really work. I'll get into that in a second, because that was one of the things that was aggravating. You have Mr. Trubisky that can run. He literally just saved a possession by getting out of a scramble and running for 10 yards a few plays before that. You can try to get a couple of yards. But see, that's how he thinks about running the ball in the first place. He doesn't want to do it. And I feel like he was forced to do it today not because he wanted to, but because people made it a deal that he didn't run the last time. And to be quite honest, the play calling was, other than the red zone stuff, which I've seen coaches have problems with the red zone. It's harder to call plays in the red zone. Anyway, especially if you're like pass happy in the first place, because it's hard to manage in that little amount of space. A couple of things though in the red zone, like the last field goal in the first half, where they called the run play, and then it took them like 20 seconds to set up, and then they had to spike the ball to kick the field goal. I don't know what that was. I don't know what they were trying to do. It seemed like really lackadaisical on the Bears' part offensively. I don't know what that was. The other red zone situation that I want to speak about is the Cordell Patterson running experiment, and to a lesser extent, the Cordell Patterson screen experiment. They know what you're doing. Like, Cordell Patterson is not a running back, so he's a gadget player. They know exactly what you're doing when he's there. So that running play where he tries to run and it didn't work, or that little half screen that you tried to run and they snuffed out, that needs to end, man, because it isn't working. And every time you try to do that, that's only had one time where that's worked. you have a running quarterback. It's not like Lamar Jackson running, but you have a dude that can run a little bit and is big to tackle. Use him. Mitch Trubisky had a alright game. He threw an interception and then he fumbled, so it was back-to-back turnovers. But he also got you in a situation to win the game. We just got to understand what Mr. Trubisky is. Mr. Trubisky is a guy, in my opinion, he's not that good. He's a little bit below average. He overthrows, but every once in a while in the game, and the Allen Robinson over the shoulder throw, the Allen Robinson catch where he threw in the coverage, but Allen Robinson caught the ball over his defender. Mr. Trubisky can make that throw. There's only a handful of quarterbacks that can make that throw. Mr. Trubisky's one of them. He has flashes of ability. The problem is, most of the game, he plays blah. Or he overthrows people. But I'm not going to blame this on the kid. He was, alright. He did some stupid things. That interception was, the defender jumped the route. He throws in the coverage anyway. He tries to thread the needle too much anyway. So it is what it is, man. We can argue about him throwing in the coverage and overthrowing people. He's bad, period. And I'm hoping that after this season, he gets competition. This game was lost by Matt Nagy, period. There's no way that the Chargers gave you every opportunity to win that game. They gave you opportunity. The red zone sequence where you got in the red zone, it was a penalty and it was pass interference. It was half the distance to the goal. You're on the 1 yard line and you couldn't. That was the play where they couldn't figure. They took too long to get up from the run, and then they had to spike the ball to kick the field goal. That's ridiculous. There's no way you should be that inept in the red zone ever. You're the offensive genius, Matt Nagy. You should figure this. You should figure out how to get in the end zone more than once today. Come on, man. The Chargers are not that good. They're not that bad, but they're not that good. There's no reason you should be 3-4 right now at all. Let's see. Mr. Trubisky, 23-35, 253. David Montgomery, 135, 1 touchdown, 5 attempts. Let's see. Anthony Miller led all receivers for 3 receptions, 67 yards. As far as yards. Let's see. Allen Robinson had 5 receptions, 62 yards. 7 targets. Okay. Basic receivers, they did all right considering Trubisky does what Trubisky does. This game was frustrating because it's all you needed to do was one play to get a sizable lead, and for Matt Nagy to be as aggravated as he was about that whole situation, it's come on, man, but help your player out. It's just like today was a situation where Matt Nagy didn't help his kicker out. It's like last week, and quite honestly, this season and some of last season was you're not helping your developmental, because that's what Mr. Trubisky is, a developmental QB. And The issue with Matt Nagy this game is that Eddie missed the kick. It's not like he was perfect and he was like, okay, he's perfect. I'm gonna trust his leg completely. He missed the kick today. Now he hit 3 more. He was 3 of 5 today, but he did miss one, and it was a long one. So you give him a better opportunity to win that game for you. There are ways to do that. Heck, you weren't scared to throw in the red zone anyway. You haven't been scared this whole game to throw in the red zone and do silly plays in the red zone all game. But when it's time to win the game, you don't want to make it. You don't want to take a shot. Really? This is what we're doing now? And you're gonna get mad at reporters about this? I don't know, man. I'm really starting to get annoyed at his cockiness. I honestly think that Matt Nagy winning the Coach of the Year got into his head a little bit because he hasn't proved anything this season. He honestly hasn't proved anything last season. That defense basically led the Bears to the playoffs last season. Not the offense. The offense had issues. You traded a 1,000-yard rusher to Philly for some draft picks. You got David Montgomery. David Montgomery, this is his first 100-yard game to this season, and now you can run the ball. Coach Nagy, you can run the ball now. And I think his longest, he had a 55-yard run. David Montgomery did. He had a 55-yard run today. He broke one. So now, because I heard this last week, that if we're running plays and they're 1 to 2 yards, and then you're 2nd and 8 or you're 3rd and 9, then you're in a bad situation. Now you know for sure that you have a back that can break one. And he had an 11-yard, one of his earliest runs was 11 yards. Run the ball now. And stop being scared. Stop being scared to lose. That was a perfect example of being scared to lose the game instead of playing to win the game. And you trusted your kicker. You put your kicker in not a bad situation, but you put your kicker in a less than optimal situation, and you lost the game. So that's my rant. It's been 18 minutes. I don't know what else to say. That was frustrating. I watched it back on the replay, and I was like, this is stupid. So anyway, I will be doing Bulls and Knicks tomorrow evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow. But later, people.